was a smart general. He was one of our finest F-15 jet fighter. He has trained everybody here, including the current Air Force commander. He was a man of humility.
Martha Karua mourned CDF General Ogolla as a patriotic man, urging President William RUTO to ensure that investigation is thoroughly done to determine the cause of the helicopter crash that claimed General Ogolla'S life and 9 other KDF officers.
When an accident occurs, it's a security issue. There are security concerns which deserve an answer for the nation. We look forward to a speedy investigations. I salute our fallen general. Fare thee well.
But here we have a case of a general who did not wait to fade away. He crushed, died in office. What Kenyans want as a president is simply to make it public, because then that will allay all these fears.
General Ogolla was laid to rest at his home in Siaya County in a private ceremony. He leaves behind an indelible mark in the Kenya Defence Force and the country as a whole for the role he played. Maureen Bosire, Lookuptv.
Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale on Sunday revealed that General Francis Ogolla'S visit to Bomas as the 2022 presidential election results were being tallied was not out of his own volition, but was rather coerced by his senators. Speaking during General Ogolla'S burial service in Siaya County, Duale argued that the General Ogolla, who at the time was the Vice Chair of Defense Forces, did not have the clearance to proceed to Bomas since he was not a member of the National Security Council, NSC, and was acting on orders of persons who sat in the powerful body at the time. Let's take a look.
As the debate surrounding what happened at the Bomas of Kenya on the 15th of August 2022 rages on, especially following the death of the Chief of Defense Forces Francis Ogolla, Aden Duale, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense, now says Ogolla was at Bomas under instructions from his superiors.
General Ogolla shared with me text messages of his superiors and members of the National Security Committee then. And he asked 3-4 times. First, in the morning when he was going to NSAC, he showed me the message that he was given, go represent me at NSAC, because of a prior other commitment of the person who was supposed to go. When he went to NSAC, General Ogolla and a direction was given to him with the other colleagues, with a leader, him as a member, to go to Bomas. General Ogolla, as a respectable soldier and general, he asked and sent a text message to his bosses and asked, what am I going to do in Bomas? And this has happened. And General Ogolla was told, it's been decided, you go.
According to Duale, despite questioning the motive behind being sent to Bomas, with him not being a member of the National Security Committee, Ogolla was ordered to proceed and stay put.
And I'm narrating what General Ogolla today, he's lying here, this man, told me. When he went to Bomas, the then chairman of IBC, he told me, kept them for 5 hours. And the 411 came while he was in Bomas, saying the results will be announced at 3. And General Ogolla then again sent a text message and saying, now that the result will be announced at 3, as a general, as a soldier, what am I doing here? And he was told, stay with your colleague. That text message is there. And the people who sent him to Bomas, some of them are here. Some of the people who sent him to Bomas, some of the people who sent him to Bomas are known. They are members. So sometimes, the way Joel said,
amid accusations and counter-accusations, regarding the role played by the fallen general in the last general elections. The Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Ogolla, was finally laid to rest at his home in Siaya County. May his soul rest in paradise. Ian Kitani, Lookuptv.
All right, let's move on to the next story this morning then.
Region. Daring bandits struck Chesegon area near the KDF camp close to Cheptulet Secondary School, where General Ogolla had visited last before the devastating event. Amidst heavy gunfire, bandits raided Kabin location within Elgeyo Marakwet County, the same area where the helicopter tragedy occurred, reportedly making off with a known number of livestock and claiming the life of one individual under the full glare of police. Even with heavily armed officers stationed at the site of the helicopter crash, the bandits raid occurred while KDF officers were still on the ground working together to gather information about the ill-fated chopper crash. Kabel location chief Tarus Kerenol has strongly condemned the escalating insecurity in the area, urging the government to take action to restore peace.
It is so unfortunate ya kwamba hii mambo ya banditry imeleta shida to an extent ya kwamba tumepoteza tu watu mashuhuri katika nchi yetu. Sisi kama Kabel location tunataka ombi letu kuu ni kwamba amani irejee, tuishi na majirani zetu, watu wafanye kazi zao na hata watoto wa kila mtu asomeshe watoto wake. Area hii imekuwa too prone to banditry, shida imekuwa nyingi.
Armed bandits have continued to attack, kill and rob residents before retreating to caves and forests from where they monitor the public and security personnel as they plan for the attack. The insecurity and constant attack
wa kila mtu asomeshe watoto wake. Area hii imekuwa too prone to banditry, shida imekuwa nyingi.
Armed bandits have continued to attack, kill and rob residents before retreating to caves and forests from where they monitor the public and security personnel as they plan for the attack. The insecurity and constant attacks has become a thorn for the government, with efforts to restore peace proving futile with each attack.
So, Ogolla Jr. is saying this morning that we should be guided. He called out the media and the bloggers in the country as well. He told them that you gotta be sensitive on this particular issue. The president has spoken on it as well. He's saying, hold on, that extrajudicial killings in my government are not a thing that I welcome. And so goes on to say that within 3 months, there's a committee that has been placed already in place that they're gonna do proper forensic investigations so that we know exactly what this is. But in that speech as well, the president, all the way up to this year, knowing very well that he's guided by the Tonje military rules to appoint the next CDF, he still insists that I went right ahead and appointed them, that I had options to run into. This morning, we're going to be completely guided as well. Try act within what is going to be sensitive for the family that is grieving and Kenyans as well that are asking questions about a possibility. On our basis then, what we're going to do this morning is interrogate the statements that have come from majority of leaders in the country who want, as they say, proper answers into the death of Francis Ogolla. Kalonzo Musyoka is asked 11 questions. The rest of those who stood yesterday in that burial also asked their questions. Which is which this morning? This morning, we are joined by Eric Ragalo, Eric Mungai as well, and Joyce Wamaheo as we ask the proper questions around this particular conversation. Is it okay for Kenyans to ask questions or seek clarifications about this particular issue? Is that okay? once we come back.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Come, let us show you place spot to build your dream home in Baraka Gardens, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, maji na stima iko on-site, usitans na story za title deeds ziko ready, plus flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch, twende site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today. Open University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
Open University has brought a new dawn in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202000211 or 0202000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity.
If you want to have a proper outlook of the economy, then you have to speak to the wheels and gears of the integral businesses in the country.
And I want to be able to make the youths and everybody coming up in Kenya know that this is here locally.
Men and women in the thick of the bust of markets rising and falling, fighting to make their business decisions stick.
I've always lived in my career that I can never be late.
You need to train by yourself. You need to practice by yourself. Then from there you can compose yourself and give kind of services like this.
On season 2 of the Captain's Arena, we seek the inside of the minds, predict the shift in the markets, get inspiration to start and make sense of it all.
Just watch what everybody else is doing and just make sure you're giving back to the society.
Oof. This is the Captain's Arena.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu, wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi, na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
I'm going to ask the questions this morning, but I will be completely guided by what is public general feelings. Also be guided by what the government has already said on this particular issue. But then, first question that we're going to weigh in on this morning, is it ever wrong for Kenyans to start speculating on what led to the death of General Francis Ogolla? We put it on the side, and then later on we'll be coming to the basics of this particular information here. We will also be guided heavily by the clips of the leaders speaking on this particular issue yesterday during his burial, all the way to the end. This is the morning draft. My name is Simba Elijah Charles. Can I get next to me is Eric Mungai. Mr. Mungai, how are you doing, sir?
I'm well. Good morning to the viewers. Good morning to you, Simba.
Good morning.
It's been a rather dull week. You know, when you expect political temperatures, you expect to discuss more of politics. Then the week degenerates into a morning week.
Yes.
Then, of course, there are speculation, rumors become rife. I think we live in a country where it's a theater, where every man must, play their part. Some men get to play twice. Some men don't get a chance at the limelight. But nevertheless, I think sometimes we live in they call it tragicomedy. Sometimes the humor becomes tragic. It's an interesting country to be in, but nevertheless, the events that have preceded this week have not been very good events. And hopefully we'll discuss more of that. But I'm glad to be with the viewer this morning. Good morning.
Joyce, it's been a while. Good morning.
Morning, Elijah. How are you?
I'm okay.
My heart goes out to the two members of the ill-fated helicopter crash from Kirinyaga. It's like the world is only looking into the CDF only and not the other members of the 10 persons that passed on. This week, Kirinyaga will also bury 2 of their dead, and they have our prayers. As we discuss, let us deal with it holistically,
yes,
and not only from one-sided discussion.
That's it. Pretty much. Ragala.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to you. How are you?
Fantastic.
And to tell viewers, we have a good week ahead. We are not going to get a lot of theater. We are also still in mourning mood.
Yes.
After losing our colleagues in the country.
Yes.
Colleagues who used to help us suffer together. When they leave now, they leave others suffering them. They are finished. We also want to talk more about fertilizer. Let's not only beg on the helicopter, because the fertilizer issue looks like now people will forget.
Mm-hmm.
Fertilizer was corrupted and it was a bad one. Still, the story cannot end in us. So let's also not forget that the general does not just die. The generals fade away. We had General Ndolo, who just didn't die, faded away. We had General Mulinge, faded away.
Mm-hmm.
We had General Mahmoud Mohammed, faded away.
Yes.
Generals don't die, they fade away. But we had the first dead general, actually, in Africa, and probably in the world. The general that died in office under unclear circumstances, not a long-term disease. We need to know. Generals don't just die. We need to know. I would still say presidents don't just die. They also fade away. It's rare occasions that presidents die in office. And if they die, it's through clear circumstances, natural circumstances, not helicopter crash. I'll give an example of former General and President of South Sudan, Mayadich Garang. He didn't just die. It went down. So he should have faded away. And that's why there was inquiry in the course of the helicopter going down in a forest. And the search to get his body. It was an inquiry. And still closure is not met.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to understand how the causes of death. And as a medic, there are three things we do. You do post-mortem, you do autopsy, and you do, I've forgotten the third one, where you do investigation autopsy. So there's a name, I'll remember, I'll say it. And we want to go to the third one and continue. Kenya is in the mood of mourning, and more so the Luo nation, yes, where I also come from. The only community in the country that have suffered the most and paid the price of so many things in this country. And the only community I'll take pride with that has fought for so much democracy in this country. And as they were doing that, they've lost many of their elites. We started off many years ago with a political assassination of the first in the Luo nation, Ofafa. Councillor Ofafa, Ofafa Jericho, Ofafa Maringo, Ofafa. A guy from Siaya. From Ofafa, we've had a numerous lineup of people. We've had even the first lawyer ever in Kenya who was going to court standing in for Mau Mau prisoners. Aguenge Kodek. In law we call him Aguenge. We don't say Aguing. Aguenge Kodek. Again, a son of Siaya. Game. We've lost so many people through history. Before my brother Ogolla, who we really know what happened to him. The last time we lost a Luo in an unclear circumstances, it was Msando, who apparently, some people said he went holding a lady and having a good romantic time in a very cold forest. A foggy area where we pass when you're going to Kisumu, a place that is too cold to even have romance at 1 a.m. in the night. But that's what happened. And we buried our Msando. Again, a son of Siaya. Ugenya. Ragalo, a son of Siaya. Alego, Boru. Those are our brothers, our blood, who left with unclear circumstances. Oh, did they do anything wrong? No. They were working for the nation. They were making things work for the nation. And they left. So the question, that's why our brother Oburu, we call him the chairman of the youth chairman. That's why we call him brother. He asked tough questions. We want to know. We want just to know what happened to our brother. What happened to him? How come we've had 12 helicopters go down in 1 year from the armed forces? Not even one caught a flame. And this one caught a flame. I'm asking myself a question. There are stringent measures made by engineers, done by engineers when they are making any machinery. For you to have an accident of a vehicle and catches a flame, it's almost impossible. Vehicles carry fuel that can be inflammatory. But you can have an accident, it's hard for it to catch a flame. We've seen accidents, many. There we're still having, the whole of this year, how many accidents? We've been talking of accidents the other day. How many vehicles have caught flames in those accidents? None. We've had helicopters come down. Even Murukomen helicopter came down. Why didn't it catch a flame? But this one caught a flame. So this one, what happened? How can it catch a flame? Whereas we have stringent measures that it can go down, but it may never catch a flame because there are proof that they are done into its safety for it to catch a flame. Because for it to catch a flame, it will burn you guys. How comes this one just poof, poof? You know, we may be stupid, not learned in some things, but we may be enlightened further to understand so many things. And my question will be, why is it that a vehicle may not catch a flame, but a helicopter can catch a flame just quickly as that? Why is it that in 11 helicopters I've seen in this country that went down, the 12th one caught a flame? Is it I'm asking too much? Maybe you want to know too much, but I'm asking to just understand briefly what engineering problem that could have been there then. So these questions are what we want to know.
Yes.
And that young boy, let me call him a boy, the son of Ogolla, that one was your father. He was our general, not your general. He was our general. He was working for us. He was your father. But he was given to Kenya, not to you by God. So when we ask, we are asking to know the death of our general, not your father. You may not want to know the death of your father, fine. It is the death of your father you don't want to know, fine. But Eric and Kenyans want to know the death of their general, not the father to young man. So young man, if you don't want to know the death of your father, keep peace. Don't lecture us, telling us the way we are asking too many questions. If I was there, if I was close to you, my friend, you know the way kitambo ulikuwa unachuna mtoto masikio, I would have told you, young man, sit down and keep quiet. If you don't feel the pain of your death of your father, we feel the pain of the death of our general. So as a Kenyan who was under the general, want to know. But young man, if you don't want to know the death of your father, keep peace.
Guy, that's where we begin from this morning. It's one of the producer was telling me that we need to go and have this discussion. You look at it from a wholesome perspective. You gotta look at what the family is saying. You gotta look at what the government is saying on it. I want to start like this so that we stay guided. Ogolla has pushed the boundary. He said this is beyond family. Guess who said that yesterday? Kalonzo Musyoka said this is beyond family. And so Kenyans gotta know. Okay, I will start from that. Is it ever okay for us to sit here today, this morning, and start having a conversation around this particular issue? Is it ever okay for Kenyans to speculate about the death of Francis Ogolla?
Thank you. You know, unfortunately for our governance system, anytime any government gets into power, immediately they get into opposition.
Yes.
It sounds like an oxymoron, but in essence, that's what happens.
It is true.
When we just immediately a government is sworn in,
an opposition is set.
It's opposition. The Kenyans are on this side and government is on this side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what we have breeded over time as a system is deficit of trust. And governments do not do much to bridge the gap between citizens trusting government and governments getting to trust citizens. And not just this government, all perpetual governments in, it's only maybe in the Nordic countries where, people really value their government because perhaps then when they say they will do something, they actually get to do something. But in an African context, no one trusts government. Even when government says we will do this for you, people just take it with a pinch of salt. But the reason why I'm giving that context is because it is the context within which we find ourselves having General Ogolla passing away. Now, I watched the funeral keenly, and I listened to Orengo, the governor of Siaya. I listened to Sam Atandi, the MP. I listened to Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
I listened to the young man, as Ragalo has said, Oburu Odinga, making submissions on behalf of the community.
Yes.
And it is not without context. Sometimes it is good when we live in a democracy that we allow people to be, and we allow people to question that which, in their opinion, they think needs to be questioned. And why is that important? Because going by what Oburu Odinga said, he said that we have had many accidents in this region, and we are not saying this is not an accident, but there is need for us to investigate. And I agree with him, because Kenyans deserve to know the truth, and Kenyans need to know what exactly happened. We've had many deaths, including that of J.M. Kariuki, who unfortunately, passed on, courtesy of falling out with the former president. We've had people like Kenneth Matiba, who were poisoned, lost everything they had, simply because of politics. And so it is not without context that the leaders say we need this to be investigated. I also listened to the government side, specifically the CS Aden Duale and His Excellency, the President. And one of the things the President said is that, he will make sure that, the report is made public.
Yes.
And Kenyans get to know what exactly happened. Now, as a Kenyan citizenry who is observing both sides of the divide, the reality is, as Kenyans, we would want to know the truth. But the reality also is that as a citizenry, we have developed so much deficits of trust with the government that even if a report were to come from government,
yes,
we would be less likely to believe it. And therefore, that fosters a very positive environment for rumor mongering and for rumors, to spread like bushfire. Mm-hmm. And the truth somehow gets to slide in between. But even though I am looking at both sides, I must also ask myself very pertinent questions. The opaqueness of the military itself does not help with regard to how Kenyans view them.
No, sir.
Why? In the last 1 year or under 1 year, 12 military aircrafts have gone down. The aircraft that General Ogolla'S was in is a Huey-2, manufactured by Bell from the US.
Yes.
This is the second Huey-2 that is actually going down. Another one went down just last year. Mm-hmm. So out of the 12, 2 Huey-2 helicopters have gone down. Now that aircraft, I've been asking myself, could it be that the Americans supplied us with flying coffins? Because sometimes we need to ask the hard truth. Is it possible? Because all those military aircrafts were procured in 2016. Some of them were refurbished. Actually, I think almost all of them were refurbished before they came into Kenya. In the year 2017, the American Congress, 2 congressmen, went to the American House, and this is information in public domain. I'm not rumor mongering.
Yes.
2 members of Congress went to the House and said that the Kenyan military was procuring tractors, refurbished. You see the aircrafts you see for spraying, what do they call it?
Agrochemicals.
Agrochemicals.
Yes.
That is what the Kenyan military was procuring. That company had purported that they were refurbishing agrochemical sprayers into military, and they were, I think, adding, and the American Congress were asking, why are Kenyans getting themselves a raw deal? Yet, for the same amount, they could actually get better aircraft.
Yes.
Now, this was in 2017. The information, I'm not rumor mongering, the information is in public domain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that is why I say, sometimes as a country, we need to learn.
Yes.
That even though we speculate on the death of General Ogolla'S, we ourselves shoot ourselves in the foot. Because when you go and procure machinery that is defective, or the procurement system is defective, then I can tell you no one will be spared. And in fact, when I sit here this morning,
yes,
I am worried and I am concerned. Because a CDF is the most protected person you can have, despite the fact that Sam Atandi was saying that General sometimes he would find himself in one car on the ground. But the reality is the CDF is one of the most protected. I mean, when it comes to preparations of where he goes, preparation of what he uses to fly and
yes,
what he will use on the road, mm-hmm, they are akin only
to his commander-in-chief. And therefore, if we can have, and I'm not saying anyone, I mean anyone can have an accident. Even in Nigeria, I think in 2021,
yes,
they lost a general on an aircraft with 10 military. So it's not the first time that a general is dying, or so to speak. But the question is, if a general can pass on courtesy of such, then what about other senior government officials all the way up? Then how safe are they? And why we need to remedy the same is because, Simba, tomorrow, God forbid, and God forbid, the amount of speculation we are doing today on the general, were we to do the same amount of speculation, should an accident happen in the commander-in-chief of the defense forces, then I can tell you we'll no longer have a country. And that is why we need to take these matters with the seriousness that they deserve.
That they deserve. And I'll be coming back to you, Mungai, because everything that you say opens another question as well this morning. Joyce, let me then introduce you to the conversation as well this morning. And Joyce, I'm going to start from where Ragalo picked it this morning. That for you, you said, let's not look at one side. We're going to look at this issue from a 360 degrees view. I want to start like this. The Sun is telling us this morning to stop. In fact, they're saying, stop. Now, for us as a family, we are guided by what the state is saying. The state has said that in 3 months, we're going to get that report. So stop. So, Joyce, is it ever okay for us to sit here this morning? Or is it ever okay for Kenyans, we included, to speculate on Francis Ogolla'S death?
Thank you, Siba. Even before I went into that question, it's a governance issue at the KDF, at the armed forces in general.
Yes.
Who audits the expenditure? Who goes behind the scene to deal with the issues of governance? How many times have the armed forces abused most of the employees' rights that have been brought on board? Literally, the way the armed forces operate, it operates in an opaque way of doing things.
Yes.
And then that way, it opens doors of several abuses in terms of governance, in terms of management, in terms of procurement, in terms of administration. Because you cannot tell what happened for the year 2020 to 2021. You can't tell in terms of human resource, in terms of a holistic issue.
Yes.
So it opens now a can of worms. And like my brother Eric is saying, it is scaring the way they operate. If you can go and acquire an equipment, refurbished equipment, and then you display on the air and you tell us it's a top notch. Even for us now who will be attending the public activities, we'll be scared of the choppers that fly across. Because in essence, we cannot trust the procurement department. It is not about the issue of procurement department. It is the issue of that holistic way of how they address issues. I find Joel being used by external forces and external persons to address a very sensitive issue.
But on Joyce, on that particular one again, is it ever wrong for the family to take a stance on this? Because we knew they took a stance even before the burial ceremony started, because they said the father wished to be buried within 3 days. I mean, a general has never been buried within 3 days. The state takes over. Could have been 2 weeks, even 3 weeks before we could say this burial. Is it okay for us to say is not getting used, is now the head of that particular family, so stop speculating?
It is not. I'm finding a lot of external hearts in the death of the CDF Ogolla.
Yes.
Why? He knows he's a public figure and not a private person.
Yes.
And him being a public figure, you cannot just die and you are buried immediately. You know, you must give room for several factors to be put in place.
Yes.
On many teraja. Allow me to dwell a bit in the office holder of the defense office.
Yes.
The CS himself.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, how has his been performance? Let us start there. Even before you go to Ogolla, how have been the performance of the CS in that office? Kabisa, he has scored a D in terms of performance, and he's been very, very silent on anything on any issue. He was only active on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday for only 4 days. Since he assumed the office for 2 years back, the office of holder of the Cabinet Secretary Defense, he have been active for only 4 days. The other times he have not dealt with the issue. When the 12 choppers crashed, where was he? What did he comment and how did he evaluate the situation? Did they have to wait for the dying of one person, of the general himself, for him now to constitute a committee? I find that there's a lot of external issues that are bringing into place. The young man being used to give us lectures and give us instructions on how to mourn,
yes,
and where to mourn and how to handle issues is again out of context, Elijah. This is a young man who is barely 30 years old, and he has the guts actually to address the elders and tell us, hey, give us a minute. Don't give us rumors. How can he constitute what is rumors and what is the truth?
That's it. But on the basis of family, Joyce, that's why I'm on the basis of family. I mean, it's got a right to say that. It's got a right to say that because the family is reading all this that we're talking about and posting online.
On the basis of the family,
yes,
who gave him the mandate to give the direction and to which this discussion
Ogolla is the father. Ogolla is the father. I mean, okay.
Give a second for him.
Yes.
It's his time still.
Yes.
It's her time, sorry. That boy cannot be the head of the family. The brother to Ogolla was still alive and is there.
Yes.
So you cannot talk for the family.
Yes.
Again, Ouko died. Did Ouko have sons?
Yes, he had sons.
Did Ouko tell university students don't strike?
No,
Because I remember when
yes,
Ouko died,
yes,
we had 9 universities in Kenya went on strike
that's
the
it,
same day.
that's it.
Did he go telling university when let me finish this.
Yes.
When just continue.
Yes.
Elijah, we are feeling a lot of external heat dealing with this issue.
Joyce, let's tick there. And Mungai, I just want you to come in as well so that we give it a proper perspective. I mean, I'm the firstborn in this family. I'm the firstborn in the family. I mean, on a family context, even within the local community, we're talking about the African structure. Just hold on. Within the African structure, Ragallo and Joyce, I mean, if I'm the firstborn and I'm a son in this family, I've got responsibilities and duties within that family.
It is not in dispute. It is not in dispute. It is not dispute whatsoever.
So we can't correct him.
But in essence, when you're dealing with a public figure,
yes,
there are several office holders involved because the general himself was not a private person.
That's it.
He was yes, the father to Joel and to the daughter Rona. And the late husband of Irene. But he held another institution. Now, we need to merge these two institutions. We cannot say that we are going to bury the general because of the family's perspective. We need to incorporate the church. Why was the church, why was the ACK church involved? Because, he is a member of the ACK church. So we need to have a holistic way of dealing with. Are not allowed to mourn the foreign hero,
One side, the other side is that, well, the speculation had already started, which is what Ogolla Jr. was addressing yesterday.
Had he dealt with, he's preempting the discussion in the direction of the investigation team.
That's right.
That investigation team was only constituted on Saturday, or I think on Sunday.
Yes.
Then, why is Ogolla on Saturday, the same day, the team was constituted? Why is he asking us, stop discussing this issue? Why? That issue will be given a public inquiry.
Yes.
And then during the public inquiry, all these matters will come to fore. So in essence, the young man is shooting himself on the foot.
That's it. And Jesus, I'll be coming to you. Bragalo, if you can, I'll be coming to you as well. Mungai, take 2 minutes of Bragalo's time. Why? Mungai.
That is corruption.
I'm doing it purposely. And I'm doing it purposely.
Please, yes.
Is it ever okay for us to correct Ogolla Jr. now and say, well, you're not supposed to speak like that? And do you see in any other way that is getting used by the government in this particular issue, just like Joyce is speculating as well?
Let me say this.
Yes.
How Joel Ogolla behaved yesterday and the other day at Ulinzi on Saturday is no different from how Rosemary Odinga behaved in 2015 at the burial of his brothers. And that time there was the speculation was rife on what had happened to Fidel.
Yes.
And when Rosemary rose to speak, a lot of people, they were not happy with the sentiments that she spoke.
Yes.
Because she seemed to divert from the popular line that the brother had been assassinated for political reasons. But when I look at now both of them, I look at Rose and I look at Joel, something comes into mind. There is a psychological, and allow me so that I take 1 more minute of Ragalo's time.
That's fine.
There is something psychologically called cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
It is when you are presented with new information that is contrary to your older belief. And therefore, you are unable to reconcile the two, because Joel is giving a history of how he's seen his father work with the president. But here is a new set of facts. Some people are saying, such as Oburu, they are saying, no, we need to investigate. And Joel is unable to reconcile the good president he has seen, the good president who appointed his father, with this new information. Because remember, even when in 2015 when Fidel died, part of what the state did was to issue or where was Fidel
to Kisumu
on a military helicopter. Okay, so sometimes when you're mourning and when you're reeling in shock, I think let's cut the young man some slack.
Yes.
Let's allow him to mourn.
Yes.
It is okay. The opinion that he gave, despite the fact that we seem to castigate him, we must also allow him some time to mourn. It's been less than I think more than 72 hours before his father passed on. He has a right to express himself. But I think I'll explain further when it is.
That's it. To Ragalo. Just before we go up, then I want us to listen to him again this morning, so we know exactly where it is that we're coming from. Actually, I know if you can, then you can actually jump into that particular story of what is said. And within that particular bite as well, Ragalo, what the rest of the leaders were saying in front of the president. Let's take a look.
Watu wache kusema hizo maneno zao ati he did this. These guys were friends in State House. Nyinyi hamchai kwenda huko. Let us be sensitive. Tafadhali bloggers, watu ya media, mwambie wa bloggers wache mchezo and mention them by name. Watu wache kusema hizo maneno zao ati he did this. These guys were friends in State House. Nyinyi hamchai kwenda huko. Let us be sensitive. Tafadhali bloggers, watu ya media, mwambie wa bloggers wache mchezo and mention them by name.
Early morning, the body of the general arrived in Kisumu and made its way to the venue in Siaya on road. Step by step, the military took charge in sending the general to rest. During the ceremony held at his Ngea home in Siaya, a full-scale military honor befitting the distinguished service of the late General Ogolla was performed. The family mourned their kin as the dedicated fellow who served without fear as they called on the nation to celebrate the man he was.
Watu wache kusema hizo maneno zao ati he did this. These guys were friends in State House. Nyinyi hamchai kwenda huko. Let us be sensitive. Tafadhali bloggers, watu ya media, mwambie wa bloggers wache mchezo and mention them by name.
The military military paid its final respects to the late Chief of Defense Forces General Francis Ogolla in a solemn ceremony to mark the end of his journey. During Saturday's event, a 1-minute silence was observed by the attendees, which began with a reveille traditionally used
in State House. Let us be sensitive. Tafadhali, bloggers, what your media? Mwambie bloggers wache mchezo and mention them by name.
The military paid its final respects to the late Chief of Defense Forces General Francis Ogolla.
Does that? I mean, it's quite clear on it. Like, hey, you guys have never been there. Please be sensitive. That's it. Measure your words.
Brother, that young man was under stress, and I would say he was depressed. And there is how you in anxiety and psychology is how you officially present yourself under stress. There are people who mute and keep quiet.
Yes.
There are people who end up fighting back. And for him to lead a point where you are fighting back, you are fighting the good people. Sometimes you're thinking they're the bad people. Brother, bloggers have been used by media. Lookuptv here. I'm not saying that's what you've done. I'm giving an example of a media where I'm seated.
Yes.
To get information. Sometimes information is with the blogger, not even with the media. So the blogger will air it, and then the media is like, yeah. So there's something in West Pokot. And I'm very sure there are media stations who got information from bloggers. Bloggers assist media. Blogger and blogging is media. Everyone in Kenya with a Twitter, of course called X today, and a Facebook is automatically a blogger. How? If there is something that has happened in Mukuru right now, you will know through Facebook. Because the information will come. It has helped even emergency preparedness and emergency help by blogging. Sometimes you don't need to call 99 for fire to go to where there is fire. Blogging will help them even know where the fire is. So whoever blogged, of course he's saying he can't call name, so I will not help him also to call out name. But whoever blogged made us know. When my friend, the government spokesman, went on his blog, because I will say it that way, Mr. Maura, and said we keep calm, the government is going to give us more information, someone replied there, go and look. That someone said, Nani will inform us, not you. Go and check, you will see someone told him that. Because people have come to even trust the bloggers than the government. What were they telling us? They'll tell us. And someone is already telling us and we know. So what was he waiting to tell us anyway? So we can also see and know information better than the government sometimes. Let me read for you something.
The question was, he's saying that, well, you guys have already called it. You're saying that my father was killed. Let's be sensitive. I mean, when you're saying this information, how do you expect we as a family to grieve during this period? The government is saying something.
I want us to answer it with English.
Yes.
And English says, if I hold a machete here and hit my sister here.
Yes.
Who has killed the lady?
Eric.
Is it me or the machete?
It is you.
It is machete, not me. It is the panga. Ogolla was killed by what? By the helicopter fall. So he was killed by the helicopter.
Doesn't?
Yes, that is the point of start. So you want to know if he was killed by helicopter. So what? That's what we are saying. We want to know the circumstances that led to Ogolla being killed by the helicopter. I will go back to English. If I drive a car and hit someone, have I hit someone?
It's a car driven.
It's the car driven that has hit someone. Let's go back to real English. So have I killed the person or the car killed the person? He was killed by road traffic accident. And that's what we normally say. We don't normally say he was killed by Eric driving the car. He was killed by a road traffic accident by a motor vehicle of this number, of this make, of this caliber. Why is it wrong for a blogger to say Ogolla was killed? Of course Ogolla was killed by what? By a helicopter. Hey, yo. So how did a helicopter come to kill Ogolla? Now that is what we are looking for. So that young man also should understand his frame of English. His frame of English was wrong. He's saying bloggers are bad. This is the function of the blogger. Allowed to share information about any business, your business, and its services, and allows you to share opinion and thoughts on certain topics. Okay? Blogging is a great way to create a personality of your company. For example, if you're using a company or something else. So if blogging is wrong,
yes,
then so many things we've known by blogging. Trust me. By blogging, we knew there were electromaterials that were going like this, like this. By blogging, we knew Sabwe Yambatani. Bloggers will give us the real,
yes,
and what IBC have gotten, and they're asking us, here they are. So blogging is important for information. And that young man should also understand that we have freedom of expression and freedom for information.
Ogallo, balance it for us. And I wanted to ask you this. Maybe there's something that we're not getting about the Luo traditions and family structure.
Yes.
In this. Let's go back to the family.
I am a Luo. Let me give you that.
Because we're speaking
I am a
on
Luo.
the basis of the family.
I am a
Ogallo,
Luo.
are you the firstborn in your family?
I am a firstborn.
What is your role and responsibility in your family?
Is to guard my other brothers. But there is, if there is social issue in my family, if there is social issues in my family,
yes,
there is the elders. They are my uncles. They're the people who are supposed to talk for the family.
What do you pronounce in the family? What are you allowed to pronounce in the family? Like, this is the stand for the family. Well, Ogallo, are you saying that you're completely powerless to make a stand for the family in case there's a problem within the family as the firstborn?
And this is the African context.
Does it?
When you are the firstborn,
yes,
but there is the father, your father there.
Yes.
Your real father is dead, but you have other fathers.
Yes.
We normally call them uncle by English, but that's wrong in African context. Kuna baba mdogo na baba mkubwa. So kuna baba mkubwa pale, huyo ndio ataongea kwa familia. And I want to ask this, because this was a Luo also burial.
Yes.
Where was the village elder? What am I called the village elder? If that guy was me now, and me, I am a Lego Kochieng, there is the elder of Kochieng,
yes,
who will speak for the loss of one of the sons of Kochieng. We didn't see an elder talk. Where was the Luo elder, council of elders? Mti mkuu ukianguka, the Luo council will come to bury, to signify a Luo burial. However much it was a burial of a military,
yes,
remember he was a Luo. Even if he was a burial of a politician, remember that politician is a Luo. I expected our care to be there, and our care should have been invited. You don't forget to invite such people to talk for the Luo and send the soul back to Ramogi Ajuang, where our ancestors came from. This one, I got scandalized when I saw a mzee of 100 years seated. Watu wanaenda kupeleka mchanga. Mzee is just playing with the, I don't know either playing or what, or doing this with the fimbo kwa mkono. Why was that mzee left there? The father of the young man, the father of Mzee, the father of Ogolla. He never woke up. Nobody went to console them. Yes. And if that is the function of the firstborn,
yes,
where was he to console Mzee? He went to console the mother and the sister. And you could see them holding each other. When they were holding each other, because I followed this thing to the end, because this was a Luo burial, I have to. Where was Mzee seated? Mzee was seated at the far end, like a stranger. Where was Mzee supposed to sit? Next to the president.
Because he's the father.
He is the father. My friend, we have to look at even culture. If that is what you want me to ask, I'll ask now. Where was Mzee supposed to sit? At the red carpet. Mzee was seated far away. Actually, the last person to where the tent was where Ogolla was being prepared. And when people were taking this mchanga, Mzee never woke up. A burial in an African context is where you hold mchanga and do this, even if it is one pinch.
Yes.
So did Mzee bury the son?
Yes, no. But fine.
Mzee didn't bury the son because Mzee could not even walk. They left Mzee there doing this with the hands.
Ogolla, so at what point, because there had to be a balance, there had to be a family balance and a state balance, and we saw that's exactly...
There is, let me tell you, this lady is a Kikuyu. There is the Kikuyu burial in any elder of a society.
Which is right.
They should be having a Kikuyu council of elders should have been represented.
Yes.
Yes.
And could have talked because they are talking as a Kikuyu, not as...
She's Meru, not Kikuyu.
Okay. Okay. Then there should have been a Mzee of that we call Itora, of that region.
Yes.
So that Mzee would have talked as Mzee were here. You know, that hierarchy of that inaitwa sub tribe.
Yes.
Hiyo sub tribe iko na mkubwa wao. Angeongea kama tumepoteza Mwanjiro. For example, if you Wanjiro. Then now from there, the elder would have talked. Then that one you've finished, the Kikuyu burial.
Pretty much.
Then there you go to the state burial
Yes.
of the army. Then now you go to the family. Then the church.
Yes.
Then the politicians if they are there. Where was the Luo burial there? Did we bury our son? Did you see our Luo elders there going to bury our son?
For anybody,
why would they leave? Why would they leave our son away to an extent they embarrass the old man of 100 years?
For any other person listening to this, man, I want to take you a minute to this.
Ule ni baba ya mtoto bana walifanya hivyo.
Because I want to give it back to Joyce as well before I come back to Mungai then on this particular issue. For anybody listening to you this morning, Ogolla, that will say, why is Ogolla becoming overcritical for a family that's grieving? And that's the pain point this morning.
Perhaps even bordering on insensitive.
That's it. Is it that you are you're almost becoming insensitive this morning? That when you're grieving, whatever happens, whatever you say, it should be taken in the context of grieving. So it's wrong for us this morning to say, well, that boy shouldn't have said that.
That boy was wrong. You should not lecture elders and lecture a community that is grieving.
And by the way, he's not a boy, he's a man.
Say that, let's balance that.
No, he's a boy. You know, those are characters of a boy. If you are really a man, you should know how to handle yourself. But that is a character of a boy.
For saying that this morning.
Oh, he's a boy. That's how you inflammatory you become. When you're a man, you know how to handle yourself. You know this is your father, but he's a father to all.
Was there? But Joyce, here's the thing. There's just a lot of talking points on this particular, and I knew the first one was when I eat into our time this morning. But it's okay for any other Kenyan to speculate into the death of one Ogolla. Now, let's then talk about the insensitivity then. Ogolla, pay tribute to this. You enjoy it as well. Take 2 minutes because I will still be coming back to you. So we don't eat into Mungai's time. Here's the question. Is it then okay for a member of parliament, for the likes of Oburu Odinga, for Siaya county governor to stand and ask for one ODM members who were there, case in point, Mother Karua? The president is right that the chief in command of armed forces is right there with you, Joyce. Is it insensitive for you then to stand up and ask that question to the president? Because they were asking the state those questions. And the man in charge of the state is the president, is just right there. They failed almost to look at him, but every other person who had questions, they asked the president. Was that insensitive on their part?
It was not insensitive at all. But before I answer you,
yes,
any person who does not follow our write down unspoken burial program, because in essence, Eric Ragaro is addressing a burial program
of a Luo culture
of an African. Let's say a burial program of an African, either man or a woman. There's what we call the protocol of the burial program, the family. You know, there's that protocol. Now, Eric is a bit emotional because that program was never followed. That is why we have issues. When you bring in foreigners to Siaya, and you do not allow members of Siaya even to welcome you, the CS information ICT had gone the previous day to go and tame voices and control a lot of mamas on the crowd.
Yes.
Now, when we went there, perhaps was told something in the rural language and told something that perhaps we do not want to deal with. But when we come to the burial day,
yes,
the material day, and we do not have the burial program of an African man, because Elijah, you do not belong to your sisters and your brothers and your mother and your father when you're at Lookuptv. Lookuptv will be given a position to state its position. Your brothers and your sisters will pay tribute to you. Your neighbors will be your church members will be given a time to pay tribute to you.
Yes.
Now, when all this was mixed up and you are rushing up the issues over the 72 hours, you know, General Ogolla was a woman, a typical woman from Siaya, from Gia Village. Eric, perhaps I do not want Eric to answer that one. Of the 72-hour notice, when they mourn for 3 weeks, allow them to mourn. Even when the mourners were screaming behind the tent, saying we've not mourned out, listen to them. Come to the basic question, the hard question.
Yes.
I bring back the question on C.S. Duale.
Yes,
he brings in an emotional discussion because Duale is the author of emotional statements, not even Eric. When we are burying our dead,
yes,
Eric here can tell you, we have never mentioned the wrongs of any dead. We've never. One minute,
not cutting you short.
Yes.
I want him to take note because
Yes.
I know what his response is going to be on those two particular questions. So,
Yes.
Mungai, take note, please. Take that one down. Thank you.
We're even burying our div, our village div, our village div. That is the div.
Yes.
We have no dustbin in the Kiku custom or even from the mountain where we can dump that div. We bury the div in honor. So even when we are burying, we do not bring in the ghosts of how he stole a cow or how he stole a shirt. Yes. We don't. So that emotive discussion was started by the government. And when the government started that emotive discussion, somebody was left to address that vacuum. Because the government is the one that started this huge and insensitive narrative. And that is why this young man is addressing the vacuum that was left by the government. When Duale says, allow me to take you back. When Duale says that when they were vetting the General went to my house. It is in the standard, 2-day standard.
Yes.
General came to my house for 3 hours. We sat, and he told me he was not involved. What are you trying to insinuate to the members of public? That it's you, Duale, who followed it twice to have, the General vetted positively and not negatively? In 2022, on October 2022, he had said, when they were vetting him, we are going to deal firmly with those persons. You see, so he is the one who is pushing the negative agenda and the narrative. So everybody else who is studying here, who will come here, is literally addressing what Duale had been saying, or even what Duale had been asked to say, because perhaps Duale had been asked to go. Can they go and address that issue? Can they go and create, because he did not avail the physical SMS. You see, even when he was doing the serialization of his book last year, he did not bring on board the issue of General Ogolla, but he deliberately brings in this issue of General Ogolla today when we are burying him. So in essence, the insensitive statement the young man was addressing.
Yes.
And they made another stupid effort to bring in now the young man into now the insensitive discussion was started and ordered by the government, not the family. And they also rushed out now the program of burying the foreign general.
Yes.
Without the proper regard of the CIA members, the CIA people, the rural community, the rural customs. We needed people needed time to mourn. Don't give us this hurabaru of the 72 hours. The family did not have the issue of 72 hours. This was stage managed by the government.
Mungai, you know, I do know the response that you're going to give us on the first question. And we're going to play those clips again for Ragalo to also weigh in on them. One, the president is sitting right there. Mungai. And you know the official position of the government in this particular issue. The chief commander of the armed forces of Kenya is right there. And he says, we've started investigations. I want to make sure that this issue is known. Would you like to think that any other leader who stands up and speaks on this particular issue is guided by the position of the chief in command of the armed forces right there in that particular venue? One. And number two, does it then make it insensitive for you as a leader to stand in and ask those questions, knowing very well what the man in charge of that particular issue said? One. And number two then, and I told you take note of Joyce's remark right there, that it doesn't look palatable for you to stand in front of mourners and tell them, well, this guy, we knew was involved, and he actually came all the way to where I was and told me I was not involved. And in the second part of this conversation by the Mungai, we are going to talk about what the president has said. I've also gotten a lot of people speaking as well. Guess what? You take 2 minutes. I'll come back with you again on this particular response. Take 2 minutes to get into the first one.
I think, let me not speak one to the Luo culture, because I am not an expert in matters barrier rights, okay?
Yes.
But let me take the perspective of, as far as I am concerned, it is true that General Ogolla was a Luo, but as far as I'm concerned, he was a CDF of the whole country. He was my CDF as much as he was any Luo's CDF, so to speak, okay?
Yes.
So to me, he was a national figure. He needed to be accorded a national funeral, Luo cultural rights notwithstanding, okay? Now, we can then go into the debate of whether it was done right or whether it was not. But that's a different debate altogether. But why did Duale have to come out and make his voice heard? Why did the president have to come out and make his voice heard? You know, Simba, when you corner a cat into a corner, you know, if you want to kill it and you push it to a corner,
yes,
all likelihood is that the natural instinct is to want to defend yourself. That's the natural instinct.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether you're the president or whether you're the CS. Because when General Ogolla passed on, the first news that we held on to was news that came from the bloggers. Because the mainstream media was reporting that there had been a chopper crash. That is what the mainstream media was reporting. But it refrained from telling us who exactly was in that chopper.
Yes.
And there was a lot of confusion in terms of, you know, General Ogolla is in Eldoret.
Yes.
He's not here. A lot of rumors festered, were allowed to fester. Which then led into all manner of speculation as to one, why the government is quiet. Okay? Because you see, in the absence of official...
I don't want you to eat so much into that particular point, because I want us to take a tiny breather, and I will remind you exactly where you've left it. And I also just add this one. We're fully guided by government protocol that on this particular issue, you follow what the state is going to tell you, that despite what you know, the official position you take as a media house is the official position of the state, unless also told otherwise. I'll be coming back to you now. We'll be come back on this particular issue with Mungai. But once we come back, Joyce and Ragalo are going to tell us exactly why the president has continued to insist, even at the barrier, that he had the choice. And he thought his choice was one Ogolla. The story that we did yesterday that says, Ogolla, my best bet. It's never right for him to speak like that, knowing very well what the Tonje rules in the military state. Because even as we sit here, and I don't want to go into that particular conversation, we pretty much know who's going to be next. Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, this is Lookuptv. My name is Simba Elijah Charles.
kiangazi imedhiri sana katika area hii yetu ya Laikipia. Mara mingi sana katika Laikipia kuna wafugaji na kuna wakulima. Hakuna yule ambaye amesaidika, hata wakulima pia hawajasaidika na wafugaji pia hawajasaidika. Lakini kwa siku ya leo tunasema kwamba RUTO Foundation imetusaidia sana, kwa sababu inalisha jamii ambaye hawana nguvu ya kupata lishe mahali moja au nyingine.
Tumekuwa tunalala hoi. Ukweli kabisa, mimi siamini. Hata mtu mwingine jinsi tumeleta hapo usiku akuwa amesimia. Akuwa na siku 3 hajaumwa kitu. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana RUTO. Leo watoto wengi ameshiba.
Nashukuru Mungu kwa RUTO Foundation siku ya leo. Maana wamekuja at least manyumba 100 leo na 10 itaweza kunuka kitunguu jioni ya leo. Tulikuwa na njaa, si mchezo, ilikuwa na njaa, si ya ile ya kusema iko njaa.
Ya kwanza tumekuwa na watoto ambao wameshikwa na hata watu wazima na utapia mlo, na pia tukiangalia hii ni area ambayo imejaa watu ambao wana rely na mifugo, na mifugo mingi imeweza kuisha kwa sababu ya kiangazi, na tunashukuru sana the RUTO Foundation kwa msaada wao ambao wameweza. Asanteni sana.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Come, let us show you place sport to build your dream home in Baraka Garden, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, maji na stima iko on site, usitans na stories za title deeds ziko ready, plus flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch to the site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
It is going to be Mungai's time. I'm going to give him time to answer two very critical questions that have been asked on this particular set. Whether it's insensitive for leaders across the country to question the president, Barrio, who's the chief and commander of armed forces, and number two, whether it was okay for Duale to insinuate that we did him good, knowing very well what he did. We leave it there. So just before we jump into that, we're going to play for you our second story here, which is also going to introduce the next part of our discussion this morning. It's talking about what the president is saying. Now, I will read for you what the pointers are on this one. He said that the country has lost a great military leader who served his country with passion. All right? That was his introduction as he paid tribute to the fallen soldier, CDF, Francis Ogolla. He also said that the nation, now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, will probe to ensure that details on what happened to the military chopper that took the lives of Ogolla and 9 others are well known. Okay. First question, the insensitivity or valve of political leaders across the country to address the president on this particular issue, knowing very well that the president would speak on it, had spoken on it. Number 2 as well, Ogolla'S sentiment.
Well, we chose the 2010 Constitution for ourselves. And one of the things we said is that we have the right to speech and we have the right to say what's on our mind. And part of that is what played out on Sunday during General Ogolla'S funeral. And as I had explained earlier, the government finds itself in a position where it is cornered because everyone is pointing fingers at them.
Yes.
And for good reason. For what reason? We've just come out of a dispensation where bodies were flowing together with River Yala. Political dissidents, bloggers. You see, so in terms of trust, government is really suffering short.
Yes.
Against a background of previous political assassinations that have happened out of courtesy of previous governments. So government finds itself in a situation where the trust deficit is very high. People don't trust government. And therefore, when the podium is given to Oburu Odinga and other Luo leaders, they are likely to express that, which in my opinion is a good thing for them to be allowed to express. But my concern is when we lost Tom Mboya and we lost there was another Luo leader. When we invited Scotland Yard. Ouko, yes.
Ouko.
Oh, yes, Ouko.
Yes.
When you see, the reason why Scotland Yard was invited was because people really had no trust regarding the local apparatus to do a credible investigation.
Yes.
And even when the president says that the military will investigate and come up, there are still people who are saying that, look, can the military investigate itself, okay, and come out with a credible report on what happened, if at all the report will be, it is courtesy of internal failures by they themselves, okay? So in my opinion, and I am not in government, there is need to cure that deficit in terms of trust. And as I have said, I have explained to you there is a psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. Now, cognitive dissonance applies in 2 ways. One is what Joel Ogolla is going through. He's hearing his elders from the local Luo community saying, young man, take a break. These things, tumeona mengi, kuishi kwingi, kuona mengi. We have been there, done that. But Joel is unable to reconcile the good times he had with his father, the good things he heard his father say about the president, and what he's hearing from his uncles and his elders in the community. So that's where cognitive dissonance comes in. At the same time, cognitive dissonance also applies to the elders themselves. In what way? One of the definitions is, people who are invested in a given perspective, when confronted with contrary evidence, expend great effort to justify retaining the challenged perspective. So it applies in both ways. The elders are saying, yes, you're saying you're clean, but historically speaking, we do not consider you to be very clean. And what is the elephant in the room, Simba? We are skirting around the issue. we want to appear nice, so we are going around the elephant. But what is actually the elephant in the room? The elephant is the speculation that the government has participated in the accident, allegedly, that killed General Ogolla. That's the elephant in the room. People are in essence saying, and what everyone else is saying, we are accusing fingers that this is the first general from Luoland. And we, in fact, who said, Sam Atandi, the MP, said that we know as a community there are certain positions that are not reserved for the community. He said that on TV. Okay? And so people are saying, just when we have a general, and even the general could not, he could not stay even for 1 year at least in office.
Yes.
But let us also interrogate, let us follow that line of thought. Sometimes Mugala muue, lakini haki yake mpe. Let us follow that line and say, okay, let us follow this line. And how do we follow that line? Is to see the character of the current president. Okay? And what is the character? The character is to say that when General Ogolla was the vice chief, there was an opportunity for the president to ignore the Tonje rules. Why? Because a precedent has already been set by two previous presidents on breaking of Tonje rules. And they only broke those rules when it came to promoting a Luo leader to become general. Are you aware of that? And who are those generals? I think I had written somewhere General Pande, and there was Lieutenant General Otieno. When it came for them to be promoted, Kibaki...
Take notes.
Yes, please take note.
Ragalo.
Kibaki, and they sent, they sent them, one was sent to Liberia, the other one was sent to DRC. Now, William, the president, also had an opportunity to do the same. Okay? Now, let us even advance the theory further and ask ourselves, okay, so the president, he's so vengeful, he's such a bad person, he decided to promote Ogolla. So then, if we follow that line of reasoning, then we ask ourselves, why would he want him? Why would he want to promote him and then promote him to glory in the first instance? Let us follow that line of thought. What would be the reasons? First, promote him to general.
Then glory.
Then promote him to glory.
Amen.
Why would he want to do that? I mean, what would be the reasons? The only reason I can find in my head, if perhaps the reason was to come up, would maybe revenge. But is revenge an enough reason to kill a man who went to Bomas ostensibly to overturn your victory? The answer is no. Why? Because if you follow that line of thought, then there are people who are seated in the National Security Committee. It means that General was not the chair. General was only sent. So if you're so vengeful, then the only rationale would be to finish all of them, so to speak. So then, if you follow that line, then you realize there was no need for the president to promote Ogolla to glory. Then the question then becomes, if we still follow that line of thought and say that, okay, General died, but we question his death, who might have killed him? Then the other question would be, who is the next suspect to have had a hand in the same?
Ragalo, how are you going to come from that? Just before you, and I hope you're taking notes. And Joyce, there's a battle here that you have to get into. They want to renew it. It's gonna be coming.
Yes.
Here's the question. That's the stage now. I mean, I hope you're taking notes.
True.
And put them on the side. Please do not forget them, Ragalo. I hope you're doing proper notes on it. But then, also the best way for us to get into that particular conversation is to listen in to what the president said yesterday on this particular issue. And Ragalo, listen. Informed by what Mungai said this morning, RUTO said, Ogolla, my best bet. Let's listen to this story that we did as story number 2 this morning, so that we can actually then come back and see whether Joyce and Ragalo are going to deconstruct that theory that has been placed in front of us by one Mr. I didn't know he was this prepared.
I don't come empty-handed.
From there.
A 19-gun salute, the send-off befitting the man Francis Ogolla,
Kenya's Chief of Defense Forces. President William Ruto mourned the fallen CDF as a great military leader who served his country with passion and unwavering commitment. The president described General Ogolla as a consummate military officer, a passionate commander, and a patriot of great humility and integrity.
Many people don't understand the loss that we have incurred as a country. Those of you who may not have worked closely with General Ogolla as I did, you may not understand the kind of men that we have in this great Kenya. There are very few leaders, there are very few people who can fit in the categorization and the shoes of General Ogolla. I say this passionately because I know what Kenya has lost. When I got the news.
Speaking during General Ogolla'S burial service, President Ruto said he was proud to have appointed and worked with the fallen CDF.
Was appointed as the CDF in Kenya because of his credentials, his integrity, his professionalism, and he stood tall and deserved the appointment. As I said, I was very proud working with this man, General Ogolla. And I know for sure that I made the right decision. And if I had another chance to appoint him, I would appoint him again as the CDF of Kenya.
As questions on the general's death arise, the president assured the country of a thorough investigation on the cause of the accident that claimed the life of General Ogolla and 9 others.
I know the KDF are as concerned as I am, and indeed the family and every Kenyan, on the life of General Ogolla. And I want to assure the country that the KDF, our Kenya Air Force, have the requisite integrity and professionalism to make sure that there will be no shroud of doubt on what happened to General Ogolla.
Having been praised for choosing a Luo as his CDF, President Ruto also said tribalism and ethnicity will no longer drive the politics and governance of the country. He said every Kenyan will have an opportunity to serve the nation on account of merit as opposed to tribalism and political affiliation. The head of state took the time to clarify and stress that political assassinations will not happen under his watch, even as the nation continues to question how the plane carrying the CDF crashed.
Evidence of doubt and without any fear of contradiction, there shall never be again extrajudicial killings or political assassinations.
Brian Amwai, Lookuptv.
That's it. Mr. Mungai represented a proper theory on why this speculation of General Ogolla getting killed is not a thing that we need to talk about this morning. And for the sake of this, then, we play that clip. Now, Joyce, this is what he says. If I had a chance to appoint him, I will reappoint him again. He's a man who says that Kenya has no idea the kind of man that we have lost. And he continues to sign off like this. I will, in my government, not allow any extrajudicial killings. Just, you see, this particular statement came after the rest of the leaders have spoken, because the chief in command of armed forces essentially ended that particular ceremony with a speech. Just remember that it was supposed to go back to Ragallo. Joyce, keep your notes. Ragallo, how is it possible then that you can turn around and present a different theory other than what Mr. Mungai is presented? Do you have, first of all, can you punch holes into his theory?
With Mr. Mungai,
yes.
I don't want to punch hole. I want to agree totally with him.
Yes.
That Tonje rule dedicatedly gave a line of succession and was to be followed strictly by the army. And the successive presidents who came or who are there refused to follow. However, we, as much as they were refusing to follow, we didn't have much ado than what we have during the appointment of Ogolla. Of course, Kibaki refused to give job to Opande and rather decided to get someone else. Actually, Opande was taken as a peacekeeper somewhere else and to head a certain whatever in another country. Then came Uhuru's time. We had a general, but Uhuru also skipped and went and got Kinakarangi.
Yes.
General Otieno.
General Otieno.
That was General Otieno.
Lieutenant General.
Yes.
He was in the Air Force. Then later now we have Ogolla. Why Ogolla'S his is peculiar is because the other time Uhuru, when he was getting in, he was under a certain general. So by the time he was appointed another general, there was no mvutano. But this one came at the pinpoint where the president has just been given the powers to rule.
Yes.
And now it was coming on the same backdrop, less than 6 months of time. So people were still looking at your behavior. How do you want to act on this? And it was all over. And it was here. And we were saying it. Sasa tunataka tuone kama atakataa kupatia mtu wetu apeane kwingine. Everyone was saying it. Tunaona, tunangoja, tunaona. Si tunajua ni Ogolla, tunataka tuone ukipeana kwingine. So the mindset is, let me appease a community, or let me appease a group of people who are feeling dejected. It's not that sometime you wanted to. Of course, these are people of equal. Lieutenant generals are generals are like 4 or 5. Out of them comes one. All these lieutenant generals are deputy to the seat. Anyone can be. So there's no better than the other one anyway. They are all equals. So, but there was one that was more equal than the other. So we wanted to see if you leave that. The same time, now it's happening. Who is the chief now? Is it not Kimayo? Who are we thinking of getting? The other guy from the Navy. But now it is Kimayo. Are we complaining? We are not complaining. No one will complain. It is his prerogative to decide. So if it is Kimayo, let it be. But our general...
And I don't want to cut you short then are you not agreeing with this theory then? That when the president said that I had an option, indeed, there could have been an option presented to him. Just like the rest of the presidents have done. I mean...
I remember in the Bible...
Yes.
Or David and Uriah.
Yes.
Story. When Uriah went to war, he was not one of the frontliners, but he was put to the front line. Okay? And that's what happened sometime. So why you ask hard question is because I am agreeing with what he's saying, because yes, it is a precedent that has happened and it is still happening.
Yes.
And it is going to happen not once or twice. And the president is given 3 or 4 names to decide on which one. He's never given one name. But politics then forced him to give us Ogolla. It was politics. We made noise. We knew what we were saying. We knew if you take it away from Ogolla, then we know. So he had to give it to Ogolla. Actually, we made noise. Why are you forgetting? I was seated here, here. Yeah, we made a lot of noise.
We spoke about that.
We spoke about it.
Yes.
And we were saying, it is Ogolla, it is Ogolla, it is Ogolla. And Ogolla was given cause. Now the public And that's the function of the intelligence. They inform the president, the public knows, the public want this guy. You give us the other and the public will not be happy. Right now, the public does not even have time to look at the number, but Eric knows who was supposed to get is from the Navy. Will he get? No. Who will get? Kimayo. Why? I don't know. But in my body I have three things. I have the body, the spirit, and the soul. The soul is for God. The body is mine. But the spirit will hunchly tell me. It tells you, hish, ish, ish, ish. It's what the spirit tells you. So the spirit is telling me it's Kimayo, not the other guy. So in our spirit, we knew it was going to be Ogolla, and we forcefully campaigned for Ogolla. And right now, we know it will not be that guy, it will be Kimayo. The spirit is telling you. Bro, the spirit tells you. It can speak to you, and you can feel it. But I'm still coming back to the story of negative psychology, tending to let us know that, and making it Ogolla, tainting the Ogolla story to look like Ogolla was a bad man. Ogolla died a good man. However much they want to taint the name of Ogolla, Ogolla died a good man. However much they wanted to taint the name of Musando, that Musando died of love triangle, Musando died a good man. So Ogolla died a good man. There's nothing IBC, there's nothing bombers. So if that is a story, let the story die. And there is something, as much as this guy is becoming so educative and bringing analogy, I'll also teach him about Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, it's coming by.
You are not teaching me. I also want to tell him, okay, let me now change the language. I also want to tell him about Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome applies where you can, let me give you an example of a woman and a husband married. A woman is knocked one ngumi hard in the eye is red and swollen, the obito is swollen. And she goes to the police station, and ushike ule mtu, amenipiga, ameandika pale, body harm, nini. Then the husband ameshikwa. The minute afika police station, anasema, mimi sikusema mumuingize kwa cell, nilisema mumshike mumuulize nini alinigongea, na anaanza kudefend nini. So that is what is happening with the young man, Stockholm Syndrome. And we are telling him, I, as a Luo, don't sleep on Stockholm. We were there, we've seen our people die. And Stockholm was there during Ouko time where the young man Oburu Odinga was saying when he was in the committee, he went and he found the family compromised. And they were kind of talking as if it was just okay what has happened, it was an accident. So this is Stockholm Syndrome. And Stockholm Syndrome happens to people. And you tend to think people who are asking are the bad people, and people who are quiet are the good people. My friend, what is the meaning of state in Venezuela? State means it is the only thing that has prerogative for violence. State can just do violence, finish violence, bring another violence. It is the only. And that is the meaning of state in Venezuela. If I want to use that, that is how it is. So, and sometime it will do that, and it tells you, guys, it was brought by, Ragalo is the one who brought that thing. And that's why it was being said, and I thank Sonko, it was being said we are the people who ban vehicles on Ngong Road. Then Sonko said, no, we would go and buy a matatu and ban ourselves wearing the nguo za nini. So sometime, when you start thinking that the people who are being beaten are the bad people, kumbe the guy who is beating the people you think are bad, they are the bad people.
Joyce, you too as well. But even as you
understand it,
there are questions that, and Mungai, I just want you to listen to the questions that Kalonzo Musyoka asked. He asked these questions in front of the president as well. And he said that these are the key questions that I have for Kenyans as we mourn the death of Francis, of Ogolla. Said, is it routine for a CDF to inspect classroom construction, or was it a directive from somewhere? One. Number two, was it normal for him to be in a chopper with so many other military personnel? And number three, Was this his designated chopper? And if not, what was his chopper? Comes out that we as the media, and we did that story right here on lookuptv.co.ke, that Ogolla'S chopper was changed in the last minute when that trip had already been confirmed. So we sort of have an answer here, but it's a yes and no answer. We do not have the details as to why the chopper was changed in the last minute. Let's weigh in on that. Can you deconstruct Mungai's theory?
Even before you go to that theory, Raija.
Yes.
2022 August up to today, we've seen the leadership of the current government when they assumed office. Very senior, it is on record.
Yes.
Very senior government officers were either sacked, intimidated, transferred, harassed, or otherwise. Why? Because they were deemed to have been aligned to one political discussion.
Yes.
But in essence, they're only serving the government of the day. So the head of state in some time back, 2023, said, this gentleman here was used to overturn my victory at Bomas. So he starts that discussion of discrediting a guy that he buries and says he was the best shoe. So here we have a double speak from one person that less than 12 months ago, you are saying this person was the author of the Trump votes, and in essence here you say that he was the best shoe. Why are Kenyans getting jittery and hesitant in terms of buying the committee's report even before it has started and concluded? Mm-hmm. Because history represents itself profoundly here. That several office holders who came when he came into power, they left. Why? They feared revenge. So then we have here a person who was on the front line again, just like other fellow senior officers who are either deployed or sacked or otherwise, yes, or intimidated, are affected. So in essence, the public out there is hesitant in terms of buying the theory of the president, these huge, big words the president used, that he was the best. I would hire him more over again. He was a great man, yes. He was a great man. For you to have risen to that level of the CDF, you must have been a great man. For you to have been the CDF yourself, the 4 of them or the 5 of them, the several deputies, in essence, are all equals. It's only that we need to balance several other factors. So I find that it's a double speak, that on one hand, you've harassed severally others, and Ogolla should have seen this coming because your previous threats at the Security Council, whether you sit or whether you are privy to the discussions, have one time have received the wrath of the head of state. So here we have an issue of the civil servants who are seated in office today, yes, and how they are going to act. Because again, the presidential seat is not a permanent seat like what we have in Uganda. This is a period of about, say, 5 years or even, yes, 10 years. What will happen to Mugai when he is serving as the IG, and I come into power, and he was not supporting me? Will I fire him? Will I intimidate him? Will I harass him? So these, in essence, are the hard questions that the RUTO elders are questioning or are asking. In terms of the security questions that Kalonzo Musyoka asked, it's in black and white. Why? We are not privy to why. We do not know. Perhaps Kalonzo Musyoka is only giving into discretion and questions and answers that they should be answered.
Yes.
Where was his chopper?
Yes.
Allow me to say this, Elijah. The job description of the CDF, Ogolla, does not in any way merge with the education department. Classes, that is the scope of the sub-county director of education, not even the county director of education. So had we brought down our CDF from the chief of defense forces to a sub-county director of education to go inspect the kind of works, the terraces, the paintings, the frost? Is this how that in essence we had brought down whom the gentleman whom the president has said is the best guy? Was it that he had tried to remove some jobs and duties and descriptions from him to water down his office? You know, these are issues that are hard to us. What other, if this was in the foray, in the tray of the CDF, could he have been asked not even to deal with the bandits that have been harassing Baringo? Because it's only when he physically go to deal with, to visit these bandit-prone areas, then that's when we have a mishap happening. Is it that we are trying to hide an issue here? Only when a senior officer goes to the ground to deal with crisis, to deal with the West Pokot issues, to visit the ground, that we have an issue of the explosion. There are several issues here that the team, if they will not deal with, then Wajiko out there will have it very, very hard to listen to the report of this technical report. I believe in future that we need to be very careful.
Yes.
And give distinctions of
yes.
the jobs that we are going to give to Mogai or even Ragaro.
My question is, yes. Sorry, I'm taking your question.
Yes, Bagal.
You should be there. The army do internal audits. They are not audit to be given to the public. Nobody, when we are auditing, even the Auditor General does not audit army usage of funds. Nor does the auditor audit State House. Those are two places I know that are never audited. Even NIS. You ever heard NIS? Have you ever even heard that NIS have been given how much money? Have you ever heard the allocation to NIS?
No.
Thank you. So those are three places I know that you can never audit. So army auditing this, then army will bring us the audit to the public. Why am I not? That I'm telling you, I have a spirit, and the spirit also speaks to me. We call it Juogi in Luo language. So if Juogi is telling me this is not possible, so you want to tell me, army, we are going to audit itself against its own mistakes and everything they have done negative, then the army will bring it to me to sit here at Lookuptv and now start quashing the army.
Before you conclude that,
I just asked because she brought a question, something that came to me as Juogi. Now I'm putting it so that she can continue.
Just clear.
I'm also seeing a precedence of whereby protocol is not being observed here. The military personnel that had accompanied the CDF on that material day. Did we have when I'm visiting Kiabu, where my brother Mugai comes from? And he is the county commissioner. He's not, of course, he's not. He's the CC Kiabu. Does my entourage has representation of the protocol? Because here, when we have the CDF going to visit those areas, then protocol was not observed. Where was the Western Command? Where was he? Where was the representation from the Western Command? If the Western Command, the command was not there, where was his delegated personnel? So a lot of twisting, deliberate effort was deployed here. And I'm not saying that there was assassination, there was murder.
The president is coming to Central.
Does it?
And then there is no, the head of Central is called what? PC, for example.
Yes.
The region commandant. Yes. I'm a PC, let me use the old PC. PC is not there.
Does it?
Now I want you to see, PC is not there.
There was a lot of mishap literally on that day.
Yes.
Whether infrastructure, whether personnel, whether audits, whether what my brother is saying, the spirit, there was a lot of mismatch on that material day. And it is important today that let's follow procedure and protocol.
Does it?
When I'm coming to Lookuptv, there's the procedure and the protocol of what things should have been done.
Does it?
Even when the technical committee is sitting,
Let it deal with the issue of protocol and procedure, even in terms of infrastructure. When you say that Council Musyoka brings in the issue of the issue of infrastructure, and his chopper was given an alternative. Perhaps was given an alternative because Eric here started the discussion with a refurbished chopper, and they may have realized that what we have for our CDF is refurbished. It is important in future whether this government allows for audit to be done. Let it open its books for us to save the lives of our brothers and our sisters. Because in essence, if it continues to deal with an opaque way of doing things, then several other lives will be lost. We are talking of 12 choppers that has come down. Next year, we'll be talking about 50 choppers that have come down.
Mr. Mungai, and let me ask you this question just before we start then wrapping up our conversation this morning. I asked you whether it's ever okay for a leader to address the president on an issue that the president has already pronounced himself. All right, at this point then, let's look at some of the tributes that we saw yesterday to one Ogolla and the fallen soldiers who were dedicated and serving the nation with commitment. Once we come back on that, and that's essentially story number 3 that we did yesterday on this particular issue. Okay, your theory, apparently according to Regalo, has got a bit of weakness in it. He's agreeing with you, but then you sort of, Regalo turns around and says, but you're agreeing with me, even with your proper theory. But once you come back, it's the same question. The speculation we're talking about this morning, Mungai, you want to speculate in front of the president? Who are you accusing? Are you not accusing the president? And I told you about this, and you said, well, it's the right of speech. But you can't address the president on a podium where he's already pronounced himself. Let's take a look. Once we come back, Mungai will be weighing in it.
Thousands of people and leaders flooded Barack Obama primary in Ng'ia Village, Siaya County for the final journey of the Chief of Defense Forces General Ogolla, who died in a helicopter crash at Sindar in Elgeyo Marakwet County. Various leaders, including Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, condole with General Ogolla'S family, terming him as a humble, patriotic man with military skills.
Your Excellency, we have accompanied you here to this great county of Siaya to honor and bury a decorated general, a career military strategist, an accomplished fighter pilot, a competent and focused team leader, a humble, kind man, and all of us are privileged to have served with him under you.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi also termed General Ogolla as a peacekeeper who loved his country, lauding the KDF officers for ensuring that Kenya and its borders is protected.
Ogolla alikuwa cha ujuzi wake kwa mambo ya kijeshi na pia akawa na kipawa sana mambo ya kuhusu diplomasia, na haya yote aliyatumia vizuri sana kuhudumia taifa letu. The accolades that we have received as they convey condolences from all over the world is testimony to the integrity and professionalism of our defense forces.
Defense Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale also eulogized General Ogolla as a disciplined, dedicated and honorable man.
He was a smart general. He was one of our finest F-15 jet fighter. He has trained everybody here, including the current Air Force commander. He was a man of humility.
Martha Karua mourned CDF General Ogolla as a patriotic man, urging President William RUTO to ensure that investigation is thoroughly done to determine the cause of the helicopter crash that claimed General Ogolla'S life and 9 other KDF officers.
When an accident occurs, it's a security issue. There are security concerns which deserve an answer for the nation. We look forward to a speedy investigations. I salute our fallen general. Fare thee well.
But here we have a case of a general who did not wait to fade away. He crushed
want, Mr. President, is simply to make it public, because then that will allay all these fears.
General Ogolla was laid to rest at his home in Siaya County in a private ceremony. He leaves behind an indelible mark in the Kenya Defence Force and the country as a whole for the role he played. Maureen Bosire, Lookuptv.
Right. But you hear them speak about it. I mean, Mother Karua stands up and says, this is a security issue. He's addressing the president. There's so many leaders who spoke up and addressed the president and asked you whether it's ever okay for you to do that for a man who's already pronounced himself. Is that being insensitive? Should have they picked a different stage for them to share that particular issue?
There is a political satirist whose favorite line is the what does he say? The fear is gone. The clouds are gathering. I must add, the floods are here.
I know him, he's a good
Precedence has been set in terms of speaking out when things go wrong.
Yes.
By none other than the current sitting president.
Yes.
You recall during elections in preceding August, he went on a podium and asked the former president to spare his children. He said, you can kill me, but you please spare my children. Okay. So in terms of directly addressing the president, none other than the deputy president then addressed the president, sitting president then. Mm-hmm. So when other leaders speak in front of the president, it is a good thing. In my opinion, that's why we chose the 2010 Constitution. And why it is important to encourage people to speak out is so that tomorrow if Mungai says something on Lookuptv that does not sit well with government, then government will not just drown me in Rivayala.
Yes.
Because I have said something that they do not like, so to speak. Okay.
The president spoke about it the day before yesterday. And they knew very well the moment he was going to stand up, he was going to address it. And that was right there in front of the family. I keep on saying that. Was it a bit insensitive for likes of Oburu Odinga to stand up and say what they say?
Insensitive or not, you must remember that always there are two sides of a coin.
Yes.
There are those who are mourning and they need answers. They need closure.
Yes.
And someone has to speak on their behalf. And then there are those who are being disparaged, who are being accused falsely. They must also be given an opportunity to come out clearly and defend themselves. I mean, it's logical and it's the right thing to do. And both of them need to be given the podium to ventilate and air what it is that they think is right. But coming to your question on the presidency, specifically on this team that has been set up to interrogate what happened. You know, an institution is as good as its weakest link. There is a study done by a psychologist called Hofstede. And Hofstede developed something, now this one I'm again teaching them. And
Regalo, where is your notebook? Regalo, where is your notebook?
And
school him.
And Hofstede has developed something called the Hofstede Index.
Yes.
What the Hofstede Index measures is how juniors respond to seniors. Yes. And specifically in institutions and in countries. Yes. Okay? And Hofstede found out that the higher the index, the more likely things are going to go wrong. Specifically so, they found out that there is a time in the Asian countries there were a lot of plane accidents, and in some African countries. And they could not exactly figure out why exactly the accidents were happening. But what they found out is that the Hofstede Index came at play for a majority of the plane accidents. Why? Because in countries where the index is high, juniors will rarely correct their seniors.
Yes.
And they will use what is called mitigated speech.
Yes.
So instead of something saying, General, these helicopter misses are certain and it's very dangerous, the junior will use mitigated speech and will say something like, you know, there is something is missing here, but it's okay, we can fly.
because then they are fearing reprisals when from the seniors when you voice something. And that is something that KDF needs to investigate within themselves. What are the reporting mechanisms all the way from finance to procurement? Why? Because if an engineer says this is a piece of equipment that we need that is important, that has to go through the procurement system. Okay? Now, if the procurement system then does not procure the correct device that was, say, I'm just speculating, it's not to say that that is the correct thing.
Yes.
But if the procurement go and procure machinery, which was not requested by the engineers, how do the engineers communicate the same to their seniors in the military ranks? Because then, today you could tell your senior that this thing is not good. But it is your senior who has participated in procuring the same thing. So today when you receive a reprisal courtesy of the same, yes. Tomorrow even when they buy a defective piece of equipment, you will not talk. You will keep quiet. Even when you know you're getting into that helicopter with the general, you will not speak. Why? Because of what is called the Hofstede phenomena and the index. And you see, even as we create a lot of hula baloo on what happened, I think it is in the place of KDF to sit down internally and not just look at the mechanical, because the mechanical issues you can always solve. You know, those ones are not a problem. If this chopper is not working, you can always buy another one. I mean, that's not a problem. When we speak about weather, there are devices to measure whether weather was good. Those are always there. But in terms of institutional culture, because I can tell you, even if you buy a new helicopter today and tomorrow you do not maintain it, courtesy of culture, same route, it will go down. So even as we buy tractors in form of helicopters, like in 2017, the American Congress said we bought tractors to come and use for the military. KDF, as they do that report, yes. They need another smaller report for themselves, not for us. Because personally, unless I become president, I will never board a military chopper. So it's for them, for their own good. Just mupango ya kando tu wao kidogo wajite ka mkutano waseme, look, internally, what is our problem? Because 12 helicopters.
In 1 year.
Very soon people will be sent to missions. You would rather go on road than go on
the chopper.
You recall police the other day, during the previous regime, not the other day. Yeah. They bought helicopters, they went down, then they bought armored vehicles. When the media went to investigate, they found that a bullet ikipigwa na bandit inaingilia hiyo pande moja, armored vehicle inatokea pande nyingine. So you see, at the end of the day, we must interrogate our systems in full. Lastly, as I finish, the former president instituted something called National Air Support Department. And what he did, he said, okay, Ketrako muko na chopa, Kenya Air Force muko na chopa, sijui department gani, KWS muko na chopa, bring all the choppers together and bring them together. They will be operated from the National Air Support Department. Yes. But that in itself is a challenge. You know why? Because that clogs down procurement.
Yes.
Secondly, there is the system of quality control, it's compromised because now it's easier to blame. It's Ketraco that have not acted with speed. It's KWS. So you find the departments that were doing very well, maintaining their aircraft, are now sacked into a system that might be inefficient. Yes. At the end of the day, the KDF are our brothers and they are our sisters. I cannot sit here and purport to be an expert. But if they don't get their house in order, they will not only compromise their own integrity, but the integrity of that which they swore to defend.
Just one. For the sake of time, Bragalo, we got to start finishing this particular conversation. I'm going to ask you a question. The majority of Kenyans are asking as well. And it's like this. One, how's the man who's been missing in the entire of this conversation? Baba. Uhuru. And Uhuru Kenyatta. But most importantly, President Uhuru Kenyatta. Regalo. And you have 2 minutes, please.
Under Article 240 of the Constitution, we have members of National Security Advisory Council, National Security Council. When Duale said that when walimutuma wako hapa, I only know 2 people who are there and who were there. The current is constituted by RUTO, Shagwa, Duale, Mudavadi, Kindiki, Muturi, CDF himself, Haji, Kome, and Monica Juma. And maybe the other day I saw a picture done, Nani pia kakua pale Sudi. I think even engineer is part of it. I don't know.
I saw that.
I may add Sudi, but just for this. But now the question is, so the people who are there now are only 2. Haji, I don't know whether Haji was there last time. Anyway, Haji is there. Ruto is there. And Kome was there a bit. Okay, a bit. Monica Juma, I don't know whether she was there then. Okay, she was there. So do you want to tell me these people don't know how and who and the scenario which Nani was sent? And if they know, why then do they say CDF was going to regain Raila? That's the language as it is now. So, who sent CDF? They were there. They should not start beating the bush. Ulienda sema tu CDF. Order ilitoka tulikuwa tumeketi. Wewe ulitumwa na nani na story meland. Baba was not there yesterday. Uhuru has been missing, but Uhuru talked. And he gave his farewell to his gallant soldier. Okay? Uhuru decorated him to the point of lieutenant general. Okay? So, Uhuru did not attend because Uhuru knew what he knew and he thought it was not okay. Baba didn't attend because Baba knows what he knows and he felt it was not right.
But Baba was there on Saturday.
Was on Saturday. Baba
was there on Saturday and he eulogized, but he didn't attend the burial. Sometime it is important to miss out some. Yes, you don't attend everything. Sometimes it is important to keep away. It is one point of being wise. Why Baba didn't attend, he knows. Because this is the only gallant leader in Luo Nyanza that Baba hasn't buried.
Yes.
Any other, Baba attends. And if Baba was to go on this one, he would have gone to bury a gallant leader the way he does.
Yes.
He would have done his skin, his shield, and his arrow, and would have talked and give libation to Ere. You know? Yes. And he would have did his joey. Okay? But he didn't go because he knew what he knows. And let me tell you one thing. Baba is always right. If he feels the spirit, he will follow the spirit. I'm telling you, Juogi. And I'm telling you the same thing. Baba didn't go because Baba knows what he knows. And when Baba tells you, your wife is pregnant, buy Pampers, wacha kupingana. So I can't pinga Baba. The other thing I would say, because you want to lock me out.
Yes.
Yesterday we had Mashebeji Dabi. It is important as a country, as we move forward. Of course, we are in the somber mode, but as we move forward, what is Mashemeji Derby? How can we go back and make it important to our country? Nyayo Stadium was full. That tells you how much was collected. We had, and after this derby, we'll wait for another year to get another derby so that it is full. But you will find the alcohol joints full with people celebrating Arsenal, Manchester United, mara nini, mara nini, mara nini. Why don't we celebrate ours?
It was not rigged, but no, but ilikuwa sawa.
Let's give Joyce an opportunity.
Ilikuwa sawa. Iko sawa. Nilishindwa kufunga 90 something plus minutes. Ai, wapi bwana? No.
Let's give Joyce an opportunity.
Anyway, here's what we're looking at it, and I'm going to ask you the final question on this as well. People have noted the absence of one Uhuru Kenyatta in this. It was supposed to be a get-together event, talk about the state of the country, especially on this issue. What do you read into his absence? 2 minutes, Joyce.
Uhuru still has his antenna on the ground.
Yes.
And actually, when you listen to that clip again,
yes,
when our own son rose to speak, that is the deputy president. You know, he was booed.
Yes, he was.
And in that family,
yes,
the wife of Joel is from the mountain. So you boo our own son who went to condole with the family.
Yes.
Yes, you are our in-laws. To the members of Siaya, where Ragaro comes from, it was not right for us to dishonor the in-laws, because you don't dishonor your in-laws.
Yes.
Why was Uhuru absent from this issue? They're bringing back the ghost that led to that bad blood between the leadership of the previous leadership, the current leadership. And he was privy to the fact that the CS would want to use bad words. Yes. And in essence, the CS defense used very negative words. So why go and embarrass and humiliate yourself? So in essence, when he refused, it was deliberate effort. Keep peace and maintain peace. Mm-hmm. Fare thee well, General. Kenyans loved you. You did your part. For the purposes of this for the purposes of this session, Raja, 1st of May is just about a week away.
Does it?
The employees will be again for a big shocker. The fringe benefit tax have been increased. They'll be paying 16%. This is what the KRA will fix. So for those who are on pay slips, Kaidre, tighten your belts, because things are getting hotter and smarter. Thank you.
Then, Mungai, you have 2 minutes as well. Just exactly 2 minutes to clear this. Uhuru Kenyatta is absent in both events. Would have said they would have spoken at least in one, appear for unity of purpose.
Before I go into why Uhuru was not there, let me eulogize the general.
Also?
And say that he was a good man. The speeches that came out of this whole thing since he passed on was the fact that, General was a humble man. He's a man who knew how to deal with everyone, from the lowest level to the highest cadre in the country, including political leadership. One time there's a clip circulating when the general called a junior officer. And he tried to explain that it's me who is CDF who is calling you. And the junior officer said, we wacha maneno yako. Mimi na CDF tunatoana wapi? CDF hawezi nipigia simu. And he kept insisting, hapana, mimi ni CDF, asema hapana, and the young officer hung up. So you can tell that this is a man who was willing to break protocol. We saw him training with the juniors at Ulinzi Complex. And he's a different general from the generals that we see with protruding berries. The quintessential generals who are likely to dip their hands in the till. This is a man who meant what he did. You saw from the photos emanating from the funeral, several officers breaking down into tears. And it tells you that this was more personal than was professional. And you must give it to the general. To your question as to why Uhuru was not present in the whole mourning period, the answer is, I don't know.
We have no time to ask him another question. You always answer like that. I don't know. It's open as to another questions as well. It's okay, we'll ask you next time. Because guess what? We're still waiting for another function on this particular one this Friday. We'll be having notes again to talk about it. The rest of the officers who were lost in this particular accident are also going to get buried as we go by, and we do expect the majority of political leaders also going to attend these events so we can have also notes to talk about it. We've asked the questions. We'll be told to proceed with caution. Guess what? And we're gonna. For the rest of the families who are still in the morning session, we as Lookuptv and the entire media fraternity want to mourn with you during this process. Your family members are going to rest in peace, and we pray to God that during this period, when you are mourning and trying to make sense, just like we are trying to make sense of that accident this morning, you'll have the power, the faith, and the belief that at the end of the day, things get better. That's it. Ogolla', Joyce, and Mungai. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Take them back online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. At Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiange Simba. The hashtag is the morning drift. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow for another session.